What's up, everybody? KleverKrok back once again for the first week of Season 4, and man, was it a good one. And it's also cool to kind of see, just how, we have a few more teams this time than we've had before with 14 teams, so we have an extra match to talk about. So we'll try and keep this as short as we can, but also kind of make sure we evenly cover everybody's matches so that they can get stuff out of it. So today, I have the coach of the Charmillionaires, Bigdan. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
So, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump into it so we can keep this short and sweet, or maybe long and sweet. Anyways, I'll let you start off, Dan, with the first match between the Alakazams and the Charizards.
Okay, well, first off, Victini did a lot of work in this. You see him go through Weavile. Also, I was wondering why Weavile went with Pursuit instead of Knockoff. I think Knockoff would have hurt pretty much everybody on his team. But yeah, then Victini keeps going, finishes off a Zoomerl. One of my problems was why did he agility with, I believe it was Thunderous? Yeah,
Yes,
Thunderous. Why did he agility instead of Nasty Plot? Because if I'm correct, he's already really fast.
he's
I feel
just
like he
over
could have.
100 speed, but I think he would have outsped everything.
Yeah, I feel like he could have just swept through. But I mean, besides that, I feel like it was a good match. Both teams played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Sharpedo coming in at the end too was fun to see. I like the speed boost with him, so
Yeah, he's scary.
yeah, I think he could be pretty good. Also, doesn't he Swords Dance?
He might be able to. I'm not sure.
I'm not positive on that, but if he does, I think that would be a cool thing to watch. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on this one.
All right. Yeah, like Dan said, all of these matches have been really solid, as you'll see. But this one, it was it was good on both sides. I think ultimately the Charizards prepared a little bit better. They had some answers and some switch-ins for things that he probably did that the Alakazam apparitions probably didn't expect. Now, the first few turns were interesting to me, which I know I'm playing it right now, but I'm going to reset real quick and pause it. So on this first turn, he sends in Heatran, which was a good choice on the Alakazam's side. Because Victini went in, Heatran matches up really well against it. So even with a Bolt Strike, if it's a defensive variant, Heatran was going to get free rocks up, is what I was thinking. And Victini's not known for really running any sort of status moves or anything like that. So other than maybe Substitute, and even with Substitute, it's slower, so it would have already set up a sub by the time that Heatran would be able to use Taunt because it's slower. So I was just thinking, awesome, free rocks. That crushes Articuno. That's really going to hurt the switch initiative on the Charizard's team. That's a really good first turn. And I was like, okay, Taunt, I don't know, but the turn 2 is what really surprised me. Is I guess he was thinking that he'd be able to do some damage, but I don't know if he was expecting the Earthquake or not, but he really shouldn't have let his Heatran go down because that was an important part to his team and an important win condition. But he does come in and brings in a Zoomerl and puts in the work. Now, then, obviously Victini comes in, and Victini loves the rest of his team, as you'll see. It just doesn't bother him as much once Heatran is gone. One thing I noticed was that he switched in Weavile on an offensive Pokemon, and Weavile's also really good against his team. And letting him take that kind of damage like he did was kind of a a rough thing to see because then he just lost it to Victini. And I agree, knockoff would have been the better option in all regards because, and this is just a principle that just takes some practice to understand, but going for knockoff on an incoming Pokemon, if it does switch out, is probably better than pursuit trapping the other Pokemon because knockoff would have killed Victini. If it switched out, it would have got rid of any item or just got damage on Sharpedo, which would have been important. And so I think that with this, with that in consideration, losing half of his team in honestly kind of an unnecessary way was unfortunate because I really, not that I favored them to win or I was rooting for them, but as far as teams go, I was really expecting the Alakazams to pull through here. But I think it just came down to preparation. What else? Both teams really did play well otherwise. I honestly think because there was no electric immunity that he should have just really abused the Volt Switch initiative that he had. Not even having to go for Nasty Plot. He could have just gone for Volt Switch on both turns that it was in and got some good initiative on his opponent as well as getting off important damage on his team. And that would have just been really, I think, pivotal for him. But, I mean, once Azumarill went down, Sharpedo sweeps through the rest of his team with Ice Fang, Crunch, and Waterfall. So, letting Azumarill take the hit after Heatran going down, it was kind of a domino effect, honestly. But, I think, like I said, it came down to preparation. I guess the only other thing I'll say is for anybody who doesn't know, when a Pokemon like Jirachi or even Togekiss uses moves like Air Slash or Iron Head, things with secondary moves or like abilities or whatever you want to call it, the Serene Grace ability doubles the % chance of those things occurring. So it wasn't so much RNG as the Alakazams thought it was. It was actually in Jirachi's favor to Paraflinch because it was a 60% chance rather than 30. So just wanted to throw that out there. Other than that, it was a good match. They both played really well, and I'm excited to see what they do in the next few seasons too. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next match, which was between the Krookodiles and the Honedges. Now, I honestly think that the Honedges had a stronger matchup this week than the Krookodiles did. Dragonite and Raikou really put in the work. Even though Gardevoir is on the Krookodiles team, those two just really put in the work against his team. And so it was just really challenging as the coach of the Krookodiles to figure out what I should do. But, I knew that I needed to bring Gardevoir despite the fact that, Banded Dragonite can really put in a lot of work. And Raikou also still can really hammer it down. But I knew that I had to bring Honchkrow because that was my only way of really beating the Mega Alakazam at any point. So that's all I've got. Dan?
Well, what I was going to say is I think with Raikou, he should have abused Volt Switch once Donphan had gone down at the beginning. You had 3 Pokemon with electric weakness, and no immunities left. So worst case scenario is it's a free switch. Best case scenario is he hits one of your weak Pokemon and knocks him out. But other than that, I thought that was a good move on your part with the cuss that berry into Stealth Rock. Get the free Stealth Rock up after holding on with Sturdy. Also, it was really fun to watch Mega Gardevoir. That thing hits like a truck. But besides that, the Moxie sweep at the end was cool to watch. I think, but both teams really played well. Dragonite did work. Um, was Torterra spec'd, I'm assuming?
I'm not sure. Let me see.
When he
Leaf
was stuck
Storm.
on Leaf Storm.
No, he used Giga Drain second turn.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I'm not sure
Gotcha.
what item he had.
Because, yeah, he just kept spamming Leaf Storm, which kept doing less and less, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I feel like he played pretty well. Yeah, I just think your team was a stronger team.
I will give it to him. The Fire Blast on the Dragonite was a really nice touch. I definitely didn't
Yeah,
expect that to happen. Honestly, I was going for the um, Tangrowth sack. I was trying to just get rid of him to see what would happen with the Dragonite, figure out what kind of set he is, maybe get the Leech Seed up. And I wasn't expecting him to really put in that much work, especially at that point in the match. Um, so I was just trying to use him to figure it out, and he used Fire Blast and took me out. And so that was a good play on his part. I thought at that point I was really screwed. But as soon as Dragonite went down, I knew that I could, um, win with Sucker Punch, even if I, lost the rest of my Pokemon, because Life Orb Sucker Punch just does too much damage. So, yeah, I think I misplayed a little bit with losing Donphan so early. I'm glad I got up the rocks because that definitely impacted the match as a whole. But I think I probably should have just switched out to Tangrowth there to play it safe. I just really wanted to get up rocks so I wouldn't have to deal with the multi-scale Dragon Dance sweep from Dragonite. I was really scared of that thing, so. But other than that, I guess we'll move on to the next match, which is between the Minnesota Mucks and Erebus. And I will let you start this time, Daniel.
Well, first off, the Mucks have a huge fighting weakness. Um, three normal types with a team playing against someone who has Mega Lopunny. That just doesn't seem smart to me.
No ghosts. Actually,
Yeah,
that wouldn't matter against Megalopunny
scrappy,
anyways.
yeah. But yeah, the three normal types, I struggle with that. But yeah, other than that, I was kind of disappointed to see on turn 8, I believe it was, Mega Lopunny go for Ice Punch instead of Return. I believe that was what it was. Which a Return would have destroyed Electros, but I guess it really didn't make that big of a difference. That's just something I would like to see in the future.
Yeah.
Um, Also, a big thing for me was there was no sleep talk on Snorlax. So he cursed into rest, which I thought was a very good move, but without being able to attack and taking those 2 turns sleeping, uh, that's difficult to do. Um, Besides that, I feel like both teams played the best they could with the teams they brought. Um, I was pretty impressed with how Shuckle ran.
Yeah.
He actually ran very well. Um, Besides that, I feel like it was pretty straightforward. I think Snorlax could have done the trick if he would have had sleep talk, but we'll never know.
Yeah. I think the difficult part with that too is that because Snorlax has to carry Crunch for the ghosts, and he probably knew that Crunch wouldn't do all that much to Shuckle and Lopunny. He needed to bring Stab as well. I don't know what he was running, but that's what my guess was. And So he kind of spread himself too thin for that, to work without it being resto chesto. That's what he should have brought, was a chesto berry
Yeah.
instead of leftovers, if you wanted to run the rest curse set. But I think the only thing that really the Mucks had going for him, because honestly I favored Erebus in this match, was just the fact that Aerodactyl outspeeds and has stab flying and resists, fake out and quick attack. So he definitely could have won that matchup. And obviously gets Earthquake too, so Magnezone would have been probably taken out in one shot. The miss on the Lopunny, I think, is one of the really key points there, because honestly, Lopunny probably would have won him the game. So that was really unfortunate. Not having any hazard removal again is a problem, because that wore down his team faster than it needed to be worn down. Shuckle put in the work, but what I was confused about is why he switched out from the Toxic in the beginning if he had rest the whole time. So I guess he was just not wanting to have to make it go to sleep sooner. But yeah, that puzzled me. And then also I think it would have been beneficial to bring Stealth Rocks on Shuckle, just to kind of weaken his team. I think that would have made somewhat of a difference in how it played out. But other than that, it was a really good match on both sides. It was also really close. So props to both teams for playing well, and looking forward to seeing what they... Oh, actually, yeah. So the Aqua Tail on Aerodactyl was also really cool. That worked really well given the situation for Aerodactyl. Now, the only thing is I still think he should be running Earthquake. And the fact that he lived Flash Cannon, he should have just gone for T-Bolt, because that does more damage. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. He could have got the 2-0 there if he had Earthquake. So either way, it was a good match. So props to both teams. Next, we'll go ahead and go on to the match between the Lambent Lapras and the Wiltshire Wobbuffets. And I guess I will start. And I guess the first thing is, looking at both teams, Mega Magnetric is by far the win con, as long as it has HP Ice for his team. And that's that's the most important thing, is he has to preserve that thing no matter what. And beyond that, I think the only other issue is knowing what Barbaracle does, and maybe the Larco Polo didn't know, which is fair because it's like PU or NU or something, but it gets Shell Smash, and like Cloyster, it usually runs a Focus Sash and is quite scary once it gets one or two Shell Smashes up it. And as you will see, that's kind of what happens. But yeah, there's also no hazard removal on his side, so the rocks did definitely hurt him. What else? Other than that, I kind of favor the Lapras' team, but it was also a challenge for to break what the Wobbuffets had, because it was pretty bulky. Dan?
Yeah, this game was pretty self-explanatory. Once, I just forgot his name.
Fatal, Larco Polo.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, Barbaracle. Wow. Yeah, you have to know what he does. That's really what he's there for. I know he's new and all that, so I completely get that, but yeah, that's pretty much the whole match right there. Yeah, that's...
And I only see two alternatives out of this. Is Clawitzer does get Aqua Jet, I'm fairly certain, so that would have been the only way to stop it. Otherwise, I think he would have had to bring Sucker Punch on Celebi.
Yeah.
Those would have been his only ways of winning in this scenario, and neither of them are known for carrying that, so that would just, I don't know. Obviously, you would have to, be pretty certain on him bringing that in order to do that. So priority is just an important thing when it comes to facing setup Pokemon. Quick attack like moves like Ice Shard, Bullet Punch, Mach Punch, Sucker Punch. Oh goodness, what else? Aqua Jet, stuff like that means it's basically ignores speed for the most part.
Also, one other thing. I was also confused. Darmanitan had Fire Punch instead of Flare Blitz. And I feel like with his ability, Sheer Force, Flare Blitz is just... It hits so hard.
I think it was because he didn't want the recoil damage when he knew he was going to be playing against bulkier teams.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that. Maybe he didn't think about it at first because I didn't even really know for a while that Flare Blitz triggers Sheer Force, so... the only other thing is that I feel like if the Laprases, if that's the proper way to pronounce it, I feel like this is another scenario where using Volt Switch would have been a good option. Just because, risking the Gliscor to come in. If you have Hidden Power Ice and he comes in, I'm pretty sure it one-shots the Gliscor. And Volt Switch going out, you would have preserved the Manectric at least for one more entry, and using Intimidate on the Barbarical in addition to the Intimidate from the Salamence may have also stopped the sweep. So Volt Switch, don't ever underestimate the power of Volt Switch and U-turn, especially if you're pretty certain that it won't knock out the opponent. Now, obviously, going for Thunderbolt on the Blastoise was very close, and it may have just been a roll, but generally I would go for Volt Switch and to switch into something else that can either take the hit or you don't need anymore for the rest of his team. So it's just an important initiative to have by using Volt Switch or U-turn in those scenarios. So, alright, well, we'll go ahead and go on to the next match, which is between Felidae and the New England Parasects. And I will let you start this time, Daniel. Are you on mute by chance?
Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad.
You're good. It happens.
Well, what I was saying, Felidae, I feel like they played really well with Whimsicott and the Prankster ability. I think he did a really good job of encoring people and getting them stuck doing things that really did nothing, like Sleep Powder. Encoring him onto that. One thing I was a little confused on is Zygarde, why he was being ran as a sweeper, and then using Dragon Tail, which really doesn't do much damage. But other than that, he's got a really solid team. Latios hits hard. Mega Gyarados, he took a few hits in here. One thing I was a little bit confused on for the Parasects is it was at the beginning where he was using Close Combat instead of Flare Blitz. I guess maybe he was, I guess maybe he was expecting a switch, but...
Yeah, I mean, even then, if you look at his team, it doesn't really... it's not a favorable prediction, if that's what it was. Yeah. He may have not known it was Fairy type, for all I know.
Yeah, but besides that, also, I mean, I still struggle seeing Dragonair being ran, but... also, Dragon Rage... It doesn't even do enough to break a substitute.
Yeah.
I struggle with that, but I don't know.
Now, I did like the Grass Knot on the Mega Gyarados from Infernape. That was pretty cool.
Yes, I did like that too.
The only thing I was one. Well, I guess I'll start with the beginning. So, Feladay obviously had a really good lead. They really messed up the Parasec's momentum and tempo and all that good stuff. I'm not sure if it was a prediction, but Sleep Powder doesn't work on grass types. And I know he got encored into it, but that first turn he didn't have to use it at all. So maybe he was predicting it, but it's, again, not a favorable prediction. So then after that, turns 8 to 10, the Parasec's made a good switch into, what was it? Let me go back. Turn 8. Switched into Wigglytuff. I guess expecting the Moonblast, but having competitive was kind of cool because that's what ended up taking out the Whimsicott. So that was a cool little play. I'll fast forward back to where we were. But I mean, so there was some good stuff done on both sides, but I definitely feel like the match was controlled by Feladay. I think he got a little too greedy, or the Parasec's got a little too greedy on turn, 13, by going for 2 nasty plots. He could have gone for Dazzling Gleam or even Air Slash, or Thunder Wave. Any of those options, even if he didn't have all of those, would have been better than going for a second nasty plot, because he would have got the damage he needed in order to ensure that Infernape would then take out the Gyarados. And he wouldn't have lost Wigglytuff, and he wouldn't have lost Infernape at that point. So, never let greed control you, kids. What else? I'm not really sure what the Psych Up was for, just because I didn't see any setup moves at that point. And then the last part was for the Dragonair. So it's one thing that we're talking about it being questionable that he's running Dragonair at all, but if he is to, Dragon Rage is not a competitive move. It doesn't work for anything. It does too little of damage for it to be viable. But running a Eviolite with Toxic, Wrap, Rest, and Sleep Talk, that works on some Pokemon, so I could see that being usable. But you didn't have Sleep Talk, you had Dragon Rage instead, and you lost all momentum and let the Zygarde set up on you. But I guess that goes to the last point. I really liked the Subcoil Zygarde. It was a little weird seeing Dragon Tail, but I have seen that done in the OU ladder before, and I think it's usually done with hazards, so that's probably why it looked a little weird. So if he had Stealth Rocks up or Spikes or something, then it would have made more sense for him to do that, but he didn't. But it still ended up working out. Maybe he just didn't want Outrage because of the fairy stuff, but either way, I think it was a good match. Definitely Feladay controlled most of the match, but there was some good stuff on both sides. So I guess we'll go ahead and go on to the next match, which is between the Richmond Rykos and the Maple Grove Gengars. And so looking at this, I easily see that the Rykos have the best matchup. I like both teams, but I'm not sure. I can't remember everything off the top of my head that the Gengars have, but I thought it was quite questionable that they brought both Kabutops and Crawdaunt, and then the rest of their Pokemon are RU or NU. And not that tiers determine whether Pokemon's gonna do good or is viable or blah blah blah, but it just didn't seem like it was composed for this team. I'm not sure if he just put it together in general or if he looked at this team and prepared, but I definitely thought that it was pretty questionable the way he built it. Other than that, that's all I've really got to say. I'll let you go ahead and take it away, Daniel.
Well, my thing was, I think it was clear that the Raikus had the better team here. At least it brought the better team here. I was disappointed. I think this game should have been over probably by turn 6 if the Raikus just spam Leaf Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anybody that lives through that.
Leaf
And
Storm and, like Hidden Power Fire or Dragon Pulse.
right, which he had Dragon Pulse, which is what he used to kill Zatu. But a Leaf Storm would have killed him too, plus giving him the extra special attack bonus. So, uh, yeah, I think he could have swept through. But it was a well played match both ways. Uh, I think he did a great job against Steelix with Landorus. Also, is Steelix his Mega?
Yeah, that was one thing I was thinking was like he didn't Mega Evolve it during
Yeah,
the,
he
and
never
that would have
Mega.
really helped at least to wall things. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if it would have changed much, but there's no there's no reason to, you know, not Mega.
right.
Like it's only advantageous. There's no point in waiting.
Yeah, and I really also felt like he didn't have any wall breakers at all.
Yeah. Yeah, his team didn't have a lot of offense. I mean, Crawdont
Yeah,
would be
maybe
the only
Zangoose.
thing. And it puts in the work, but with Water Absorb, being on Volcanion on the Raikou team, I do, yeah, I still don't know exactly why Kabutops and Crawdont was brought. If he was going to bring Kabutops for hazard removal or to set up rocks, then he shouldn't have brought Crawdont. Yeah, I mean, talking about the Crawdon again, I'm not sure why he switched in Crawdont to let it go down to the Scizor because Crawdont was like his only way of like taking anything out. So I'm not really sure why like he wanted to preserve whatever it was that he's trying to preserve. Let's go back and see what it was. So he switched out. He went for Sludge Bomb, so he took that out. He should have just let a paralyzed Vileplume at 24%. It means nothing at that point. So like you might as well just get a free switch in into something else. Preserving that Vileplume really did nothing. So other than that, I mean it was a pretty decisive win. There's some good stuff done on both sides, but it definitely the Raikous had that match. So. Lastly, I guess we'll go. Let's make sure we get to the end of this match. So, I think this is where we were at. Oh, no, we already finished this, didn't we? Yeah, turn 20. Okay, moving on, we'll go to the last match, which is between the Charmillionaires and Because I'm Zubatman. And I will let the Charmillionaires coach Bigdan start this off.
Um, I felt like it was a much closer match than the outcome showed. Uh, but I don't know. I think his biggest problem, Zubatman, was I don't think he had anything that hit, especially uh, special defensively, or I guess special attack, hard enough to get through Aromatisse. Uh, he freely wished back pretty much everyone and gave me free switch-ins, healing them all the way back up. Um, Hitmonlee he was very fun to play with. He hit harder honestly than I expected he was going to. Um, Also, the biggest thing I knew I had to watch out for was Ditto. Ditto terrifies me because you know how I like to play. I like my sweepers, and yeah, he pretty
Ditto
much
says no
destroys a.
sweepers.
Yeah, yeah, that was what I was most worried about. Is I had to pretty much play Zubatman straight up, which I didn't know if I would be able to compete. But I think he put a lot of faith in me trying to set up a sweeper at some point, and just bringing in Ditto to wreck the rest of my team.
Yeah, I mean, Aromatisse, I mean, you mentioned Hitmonlee, but I really think Tyrantrum, was the decisive victory in the end, at least. And That thing just hits so hard, and surprisingly, it walls. If it's scarfed, it walls Mega Pincer really well, and obviously one shots it.
Yeah.
um, it seemed like even though the cool thing was, like you said, you often try to go for setting up Pokemon, whether it be setup, baton pass, or just straight up setup, and when you can't do that, that's just really outside your comfort zone, and to kind of see you be able to play in that environment and not only play that but do well in it, that was pretty cool. Yeah, Aromatisse walled his entire team. I like to run Iron Tail on Hydreigon. But even Flash Cannon would have done decent work. But, Aromatisse still walled it so hard. um, but, if you just look at the team, preview, you can just see that he was prepping so hard for Cloyster. And why not? Cloyster has the most kills in the league still.
Right.
And
That's what I was assuming.
yeah, and that was a good assumption to go on because he had to prepare for that. If he didn't bring what he brought, he was going to lose. So he had to prep that way in order to have a chance of winning. So because of that, you were able to be like, okay, well, I don't have to bring him. And you were able to work with other stuff. And I think that really threw him off because he wasn't prepared for Aromatisse. He wasn't really prepared for Hitmonlee. And that really worked out for you in the end, I think.
Yeah, I think the play of the match, I think, was turn 21 to 22, switching in Hitmonlee against Chansey when he was at 6% health, and then switching him in with the Wish brought him all the way back up to 100% after getting the leech seed from Chansey too.
Yeah, that was big, especially since
Right after
Chansey
that, he
is
got
just so
3 kills.
passive. Like the only thing he should have brought Thunder. I don't know if Chansey gets Thunder Wave, but he should have brought ways to paralyze your Pokemon because that was his only way of ensuring a win. Is because Tyrantrum just again it hits so hard if it's scarfed. The only way you can win is by paralyzing it. And yes, he did paralyze
He
your
paralyzed.
Tyrantrum, but at that point it was too late. Like he already lost what he lost, and Hydreigon going for the Draco gave you what you needed to get rid of the paralysis. So it invalidated that loss that he had in Zapdos.
Yeah, because he got the 2 paralysis. He got one on Tyrantrum and he got one on Hitmonlee, I believe.
Yep, very early in the game actually.
Yeah, if I wouldn't have gotten that switching on Draco Meteor, I don't know. It would have been a much different game because without me getting rid of those paralysis, I don't know. I don't know how I get through Mega Pincer there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mega Pincer would have put in the work otherwise, but
yeah.
Well, I guess that's the last match. So we'll finish letting this play. But there's just overall there's a couple things I noticed that are not really flaws in what people are doing, but it's suggestions for things to consider. Is one, I see people taking risks more often, which first of all I want to say that's good that you guys are trying to take risks, trying to predict because that's an important skill to grow. Is trying to figure out what your opponent is going to do before they do it so that you can take advantage of what they're going to do and maybe not only prevent, losses on your side, but also set up opportunities for you to put pressure on their team during a match. So, the power of prediction is a strong one, and it's cool to see people make those, risks. But at the same time, this is where I say, at what cost? There's a principle called risk versus reward, and in Pokemon, you want to continue to take risks, but only when they have a reward worth going for. Some examples of that would be, especially in the match between Feladay and the New England Parasects, the close combat early in the game, the sleep powder later in the game. If those were predictions, they were way too risky and it wouldn't have given you like a good outcome, like worth risking that for. If going for Flare Blitz or Overheat was the safe play at that point, also early in the game is not when it's best to make predictions. Usually it's best to make predictions mid or late game. Early game you want to play safe, you want to learn more about the opponent's teams, like what items do their Pokemon have? What if they're tanks, like are they physically invested or specially invested? Like those types of things. You really want to think about, is it worth making this prediction or should I just make the safe choice? And going off of that, I also mentioned the Volt Turn and U-Turn like initiative, having the advantage of like, okay, if I go for Volt Switch, I'm expecting him to switch. So if I go for Volt Switch and if I do anything else and try to just go for the offensive damage and I can't outspeed the Pokemon that comes in or take it out the next turn, then I should just go ahead and go for Volt Turn or Volt Switch or U-Turn, because then I can switch in a Pokemon that can handle it or can take the hits from it. And that's a really important principle as well, and it kind of goes off with the prediction thing, but at the same time it's a safe way of taking risks, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to throw that stuff out there for you guys to consider in future weeks. Definitely keep working at what you're doing. Even, like I said, risks don't always have a reward, especially if you get them wrong, but everybody makes predictions and screws up, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But when they work out, it's awesome. Sometimes they don't, and you have to just live with that. So other than that, I think it was a great first week. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. And let's see. I guess other than that, I'll show the standings for this week. And do you have anything else to add, Daniel?
No. Just hopefully everybody can keep improving. That's all I really got.
Yep. Well, that's cool. So thank you guys for watching. We will have the week 2 video out a bit sooner next week, hopefully, than what we are this week. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned some stuff. As I've said in past seasons, we don't say this stuff just to be critical or mean or in any way like criticize how people play. We want to encourage people to get better, and we want to point things out that maybe we don't understand or we think could maybe be improved. But by no means does that mean we know everything, and by no means does that mean like that if we're wrong about something, like that invalidates our opinion. So there are just our opinions. Be aware of that, but also try to like take other people's perspectives in a way where you can learn from it and move on. So I hope this helps. I hope to see you all next week for week 2, and see you all later. Thanks for watching, guys. If y'all enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want, subscribe for more videos. Hope to see y'all in the future, and thank you for watching.